So here we have our armchair exercise, and as we've done in previous exercises when we're starting to try and do the renderings, we start with our grey tones. And so this is the sheet where I've just started using the undertones first, so looking at the light and shade. In this chair here, these are warm greys, I think 1 and 2. This chair here, again, I'm trying to lay in the grey tones that we see in the chair before I put the extra colours on. This one here is a blue chair. I've used the ice grey colours underneath. As you see, I've just started to put in the shading. And this chair here, the technique we're going to use is that we're going to do the pattern with a white pencil over top. So I've gone for the darker grey undertones in behind it to start with. And then here we have our velvet couch. And again, what I've done with this particular one, which we'll start first, is on this side you'll see that I've laid in my grey tones first, so warm grey 1 and 2. And here on this side I've been working away on the actual shading. So I think what's good about velvet is that it lends itself really well to using soft pencil. So essentially all we're doing is now over top. So if I start to work away on this area here, let's just see which grey we're going to use. That one might be a little bit light. Let's go for a slightly darker one. So essentially we're just going to softly put in our greys, because velvet is a very soft fabric, so essentially what we're trying to replicate is that softness that you get with where the light is falling on velvet, because velvet has a cut pile, and depending on the way that the light hits it, it's actually showing in different directions. So essentially that's all I'm doing here, is just take your time with this. Doesn't pay to rush it too much. So you just, a little bit different to the technique I used when we were doing leather, where I wanted to press quite hard. I wanted to actually get rid of that softness that you get with your pencil when you're doing it this way. With the velvet, it's fine to leave that little soft kind of texture. So essentially you can just keep working away like this, and just softly build up that kind of tone that you're looking for. And here, this cushion, so I've used a cool grey in underneath, and then basically I've just used my dark grey to create the pattern on that. But so essentially you'll see that there are some folds and creases in various places. And so you're going to use your dark grey pencil, and if you need to, you can actually add in some white highlights. So for example here, I could just put in a little bit of white if I want some extra highlight in certain areas. So that's essentially the technique. So you're just softly working away with your pencil and trying to create that effect. And then if I bring back, so this one here, perhaps let's just focus on this chair here. You'll see that there were greys underneath, and then I have used this marker, which you've got tan, the colour that you have is called tan. So using that and your warm greys, you create everything overall first. And then what I've done is on top, so here where my legs were tan, I'm putting some white marker in over top, because the actual chair itself has got like a whitewashed wood. And the same effect you can do on the wooden arms, etc. And because this has got a stripe to it, what I've done is I've just used very fine, so I'm just using very fine pencil to lay in that stripe. And like so, I'll put some white, and then I've used a darker red in between. And so that's the effect. When you are using anything that's got a pattern, you're using the pencil to create your pattern and your texture. Now, see this cushion here, it's got this, looks like a damask or some kind of taffeta sort of pattern on it. So I'm just going to use a little bit of grey. And underneath here, I've already had put in some white pencil, as you can see. So there's white pencil in there. And I think I've even put a bit of ochre on top. So you're just creating it like that. And then if you want to darken up the cushion like there is at the bottom here, then I can just put that colour over top. But because the white marker is there, you can still see it through. And here also I might want to try and darken some of that up. But we can still see the white because of the opaqueness of it. So essentially that's our technique, is just using the pencil to create the texture and the marker as your base. And again, this one here, which is the other, so this is this chair. So same technique, I'm just creating the texture with the white over a dark background, which makes that white pattern show up. And again at the front, just using a little squiggly pattern, but it shows well because it's got that very dark base underneath. Here I've just used a black pencil instead to do the squiggles. So that's essentially our technique, and obviously you have a bit more time, but there we have it. So essentially that's our exercise, and those are the two patterned ones, and this is the velvet one here. And the final one is the blue one up in the top corner. And the same thing again, I use the grey tones underneath. Now you might not always have the right colours, so if you don't have the right markers, it's just up to you what pencils you use. So in this instance, I can bring in some aqua pencil, because obviously the colour underneath, in my case I think I've used one that you don't have, but it's equivalent to a powder blue. So this is the marker that I just had around. And then essentially with this type of fabric, which is like a linen fabric or something quite textured, you want the pencil, you want that texture to show, because essentially that works for you, because it's a fabric you're trying to create, not a smooth surface. So here we have it, and essentially you can just use whatever colours. If you don't have this blue, then I'm happy for you to use another colour. But essentially that's what we're doing, is just a fabric couch. Obviously it's darker on this front. This is at the darkest side of it, but you're just softly blending your pencil tones over top. So that's all for this exercise. Hopefully you'll be okay with that. So there we have it. We've got those three there. That's our final photo, and there's our velvet couch.